So you didn't want them to be punished the way they were?
No, in America, we have to learn that those are the issues. Something that is acceptable in one nation, one country, might be unacceptable in another culture. So in Vietnam, you can spank them, right? Teachers can spank kids too. They use a ruler and spank. I used to go to a Catholic school and the nun would have a ruler this long, a stick this long, and she would walk around and take attendance, right? Teacher up there and she walk around, and then if she hear us talking and not paying attention, she would swap you with a stick. So in many other cultures, when it's common practice, became child abuse here. So what we need to do is, my role at the was to teach parents to understand their American culture. So similar, right?
Yeah.
And in some cultures, women marry very young. Young girls marry very young. So I used to work after my job with Lutheran Family Service, I went to work for the school district, and I assist the teen parent program. And many of the young girls are from Laos, Hmong and Nguyen. They marry at 12. They marry at 13. And their husband is maybe 5-6 years older. In America, that's child abuse. So what do you do when you have a culture that is totally different from the American culture?
So you put them in an environment where they could keep those traditions?
Yes, and that was the idea of the law. The law is that you don't want to do further damage by splitting up families. If there is good cause they have to remove them from the home, then they need to be put with the people, first of all with relatives, second with people who came from the same culture. And that was what happened with the Native American Act, Child Welfare Act, because the Native American population has to be protected. You know, they do not want to be assimilated. The Native Americans want to have their own culture, their own language, and their own traditions. So if you place an Native American kid in a home other than the Native American home, they were concerned that the children will be assimilated. And in the past, if you read history, many of these Native American children were already in boarding schools. And the idea at that time, the government thought that we had to teach them to become American. So they put kids in boarding schools, and they tried to assimilate the kids for them to be considered successful in the mainstream America.
During your 7 years of being a social worker, what kind of things did you learn about the community and yourself?
The community was very new, and the Asian community, Southeast Asian community was very new. At that time, many parents were saying, we have to learn English, we have to learn English. We have to become Americanized. We have to become more like white Americans in order to succeed in this culture. So pretty soon, you would have children who speak totally English, and yet the parents haven't acquired the language, the culture, as fast as the children. It created a very difficult situation for the parents where the roles are reversed. So for example, now you would become the translator, the interpreter for the parents. You have the power. The parents work, the parents come to school, the parents don't speak any English. You become the person in authority because you control that communication. So after a while, they found out that it's not the right way to go because you give up your culture, you give up your language, and your children became the parent. And the children run the show. The children become Americanized. And pretty soon, you say the price that you have to pay is too expensive, it's too costly. You lose your children, you lose your authority, and Now the children are looking down on you because you don't speak English perfectly or you don't speak English at all. And they run the show, they make the decision. In many cultures, the emphasis is on family. In American culture, the emphasis is on the individual. So the kids become individualistic. They said, my teacher tells me that I can be my own person. I can make my decision. I can date. I can go out with boys. And you come from the old culture that says parents are the authority. It doesn't matter how old you are. As long as the parents are still living, the parents have to make the decisions for you. And you have to pay respect. So the two cultures clash. And so for many years when they first come to America, they think that the way to go to be successful is to for their children, completely throw away their past and say, we need to become American, we need to learn English. And after about 10 years or so, the roles got reversed and the kids become your parents. And they could call the police anytime, they can call authority anytime and say that I'm being abused, I'm, this and all that. They choose their own career, they choose who they marry, they adopt the American traditions, and compared with your own tradition, it's completely unacceptable. Then what do? You pay a price for wanting to be successful in America, to follow that American dream. You work very hard, you buy a house, you want your kids to go to college, you want money for retirement just like any other ordinary American, and then you pay that price. And sometimes you lose your children. So that was what we learned from the experience when we first came to America.